All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Malzberg panel as we welcome you back. Jessica Tarlov, Democratic political consultant, political strategist at Schoen, LLC, and Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist, political analyst, and author of Hail Mary, the 10-step playbook for Republican recovery. All right, I want to start with something, Ford, that General McChrystal told me in the last segment, which we did yesterday with him. I asked him, when did we stop fighting wars the way we fought them in World War II? Why did we stop fighting wars that way? Now, you know, Israel's under attack. If they kill a civilian in defending themselves in Gaza, the world goes crazy. If we kill a civilian, the world goes crazy. I mean, how did we ever fight and win World War II? And he said, the media. He said it's the media coverage. He said if they were around in even the Civil War, we wouldn't have been able to fight some of those battles.
He's absolutely right. The media coverage is like that of a football game on Sunday afternoon, and they've neutered the military's ability to achieve their objectives. I promise you, everyone says the war against Nazi Germany was the right war. If you'd had Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, etc. out there, and they saw people die on the Utah beach, thousands in a matter of minutes, we would have pulled out of that one as well. So General McChrystal, spot on. Yeah,
and Jessica, this goes to a bigger issue of politically being politically correct and political correctness, and we lost thousands of men, tens of thousands of men in one battle at certain points in our history, World War II, etc. That couldn't take place today without the left screaming like crazy, we got to get out of this crazy war.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say this was a left problem. I thought we were going bipartisan issue, but I guess not.
Where'd you get that impression from?
My mistake. The heat's going to my head. No, I wanted to add, I do agree with what Ford said about the role of technology, and you did as well, though I'm not making this only a lefty point. But I also wanted to add that I think the role of technology has changed things dramatically, that now, there's an argument, why use a person when you could use a drone? Right, and that we can limit the number of deaths that we have by using different advanced technologies, which I'm not sure how well that's working out if we look at what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Jessica, there's one more thing, though, that's hurting us right now, particularly
in America. Is it President Obama?
No.
Oh, okay.
In terms of America, in terms of stomaching war and understanding how the military works, is the fact that we no longer have forced military service. And I think that's almost as detrimental as the media's coverage of this war, because obviously the media is hurting everyone, including Israel, in its fight with Hamas. So this is something that's going on everywhere, but it's not as damaging to some other countries because they understand how the military-industrial complex works because they've been a part of it.
All right, we got a two-prong issue here with Hillary, and it relates to Bill Clinton. But I want to start, before we get to the State Department okaying most of Bill Clinton's speeches, requests to give speeches within days while Hillary was Secretary of State. Let's talk about the Washington Post is keeping track. They have a clock up there. And minutes, but they're counting the minutes since Hillary last answered a question from a member of the press. It's been 21 days since Hillary has answered a question from a member of the press. Jessica, I mean, how long does that fly?
Obviously not. It doesn't fly. It doesn't fly this long. It's a problem. I've seen the clock, and I mean, we've heard very little from her. We've actually heard policy positions, which I was excited to hear, her reversal on immigration reform, criminal justice reform, and these are things that I think are good for the left
and
are
letting
good for the country.
Stay in the country and letting those in jail out of jail, that's always a good thing.
Oh, that's
to
exactly
hear.
What she said.
Yes,
I don't know, I didn't hear it that way.
Go ahead, Ford.
Irrespective of what Jessica's talking about, you have to understand that she's only answered 8 questions over basically a 29-day span, even though the fact she hasn't answered one in 21 days. Understand the following. She is the presumptive nominee, and she's leading, and the press isn't going after them, while every other Republican has to jump through hoops. I think Marco Rubio's answered 133 questions.
Yeah, and guys, we're going to pick this up right after the break. Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell and me, don't go away.
Our Constitution is being shredded. We know about the secret wiretaps. We know about the secret military tribunals, the secret White House email accounts.
I love playing that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell are here on the panel. All right, so in addition to Hillary, clamming up and not talking to anybody in the media for 21 days, we find out now that the State Department okayed most of Bill Clinton's speech requests within days, which was an unusually quick, amount of time, fast amount of time. When Hillary was running the State Department, his $500,000 a speech requests, oh yeah, baby, go do them. Ford, I mean, every day we fight drip, 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 and the stench gets worse and worse and worse because the drain apparently is closed at the bottom and the drip can't go down.
Well, the Clinton scandal train pulls into a new stop. Understand, this is unprecedented. They approved at least 330 of these, which means they did one every 4.4 days and 82 and a half a year. So the bottom line is you couldn't even possibly vet these even if you wanted to, and 2 or 3 of them, including what happened with HSBC and Barclays Bank, who violated sanctions, and someone else for money laundering. There's no way that you vetted all the permutations and combinations, not to mention it's a giant waste of the American taxpayer's dollar.
Jessica, you going to defend this?
I'm going to quasi-defend it. I'm going to first of all commend Ford on those numbers because that was really impressive, and I had not heard that anywhere else. And I'm going to add that we don't have information also. I mean, you just said other requests weren't approved as fast, but I haven't seen any evidence of that actually. We don't know. I mean, there's a drip, 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 but there's also continues to be no hard evidence of actually any wrongdoing. We're talking about FBI inquiries now.
Jessica, I know you admire Bill Clinton for various reasons, but to say there's no, now you're even taking a step further, no hard evidence, even if it was just as he says, there's no evidence. We shouldn't be judging our politicians and the stench whether or not there's evidence. Let me ask you this: could any Republican presidential candidate that's in the field or in the field that we expect withstand this kind of stink and stay in the race?
Well, we don't know. I mean, Jeb Bush will declare next month. There's a hell of a lot that's going to come out about Jeb Bush, I'm sure.
All right,
This is someone.
Ford.
The answer is absolutely no. Not only that, Republicans within the field would tell them that they were unqualified to do this. Let me just say one thing about this fast-track approval for Bill Clinton's request. If you went to the most high-powered Manhattan law firm, it had a no-limit budget. They couldn't even basically vet all the conflicts of interest that are going on with these requests in 4 days or less with an unlimited budget. So let's be honest. A lot of things were overlooked, and Bill Clinton went on his merry way to make over $50 million in speaking fees, and a lot of these things were with the companies that were under investigation while Clinton was in the State Department.
All right, I want you guys to hear this. This is Mark Halpern talking to and interviewing Ted Cruz. This is just a little taste. All right, we don't
close with. We'll talk a little bit more about your Cuban heritage and ask you in the following categories whether you have an affinity for or connection to anything part of your Cuban past. You got a favorite Cuban food, Cuban dish?
Oh, I grew up eating Cuban food all the time.
What's your
my
favorite
grandparents,
dish?
picadillo. I grew up eating all the.
All right, you know what?
Like Cuban.
All right, but this was so bizarre. He went on to ask him his favorite Cuban music and Cuban this and Cuban that. And do you want to say hello to Bernie Sanders? If you do, say it in Espanol. And Cruz said, wait, I'll stick to English. Thank you very much. Halpern apologized. Cruz said no apology necessary. This was after the fact. Jessica, I mean, this is like asking Bernie Sanders. So, what do you eat when you go to the Jewish deli?
I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, Ted Cruz actually took this quite well. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure we'll hear about it later. I think Mark Halpern made a big mistake. I mean, it's akin to when people went after Obama, right, saying that he was lying about being a Christian or that he wasn't American. I mean, there's so many things you could nail Ted Cruz on, and going after what he likes to eat or if he speaks Spanish at home or, I mean, how he maintains his Cuban heritage, I think it was a big mistake, and it detracts from a political debate.
Ford?
Totally disagree. This would never happen to a Democrat. This was cringeworthy. And frankly, Mark Halpern's a hack. Had it been done to a Democrat, he would have been fired from a 7-figure salary at Bloomberg. And all he issued was a pithy apology that no one's ever going to see. And Ted Cruz handled that very well under fire. And the fact that he asked him to speak Spanish, this wasn't an interview. This was, are your Hispanic bona fides authentic?
Right,
absolutely.
Hackery. I think Jessica kind of agreed with you, though, Ford.
I did. You said disagree, but I think we're agreeing.
Guys?
No, I disagree with you about the fact that a Democrat would never be treated this way.
Ford, Jessica, gotta go. Great panel as usual. John Lott is next, folks. Don't go away. But first, You know, we're brought back to viewer call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show, and if you want to weigh in on the news of the day and you'd like to share it with all of us on air, you have to reach out to us before we could put you on. So I want you to send me an email. Send it to callsteve@newsmax.com. That's callsteve@newsmax.com, and we will get back to you. Let us know how we could reach you during the course of the day, because we want to hear from you, and you have to take the first step. We're coming back.